when you talk about how very bad this issue of gender-based violence is, they still don't take it seriously. I remember a case that MenENGAGE also handled in Kano. The perpetrator himself is a police officer. So he beats this woman every day and tells the woman, you know, nobody can do me anything now. I mean, we are the law. So the senior brother of this woman was who called us, and then we had to take it up from there, and then he was willing to sanction. So it's so really, really, really bad. And like you said from the last speech, there are a lot of times what the cliche is that I no one live, my children go die. I no one do this. And then we tell them, especially in the north, that your husband is allowed to marry 4 wives. So when you die, as they are even going for the burial, the next woman is already, in fact, her things are already there halfway. So it's just occupied till I come. So how do we even begin to change the mindset of the victims? Because one, I understand how so many things will be going through their mind at that moment. And then the laws of gathering evidence is another worrying one for me. So while in that state where that victim is thinking about a whole lot, blood is there, emotions, and then the police is saying, until we see all of this, or you have to go to the hospital, there should be some form of also finding another way of doing this. So as we do these discussions, I would also like us, even with the questions we're asked, to also look at solution to problems, you know, because we already know these things. They happen every day. It's so gruesome because sometimes when I do live programs, you find people calling and say on air, please, can I talk to you off air? You already know what that can I talk to you off air is coming from. Either a neighbor is reporting, one we had, the man beat this woman from 2 a.m. till 6 a.m. The neighbors were just waiting for the daybreak so they could even just go to the police station. And when we called the lawyer and brought all of that, because we also work with FIDA, we got to the house and you know what this woman said, that I'm a deaconess in the church. So if I leave now, everybody in the church will say, and we ask, how about your life? If you love these children so well, you would even want to do something to stay alive for them. So I will start with you, ma'am, and then we'll take it one minute, what solutions we have, and then we'll come back to talk about the law enforcement and the porous way of gathering evidence.
All right. Thank you so much. I think all the strategies that we have adopted, that we continue to evolve every day, they are very important. They are very critical. However, in addition to the partnerships that we engage in addition to all the strategies, we need to engage the gatekeepers. It is very important to engage and interface with the gatekeepers. Those gatekeepers are the community leaders, they are religious leaders, because you just mentioned somebody now that is a deaconess, right? That deaconess, because she hears on the pulpit every Sunday and every day of the week that she goes to church, that divorce is not an option, she stays. Because she hears every day on the radio, every community event, every religious event, she hears that she's the mother of the home. Without her, the home cannot move. Without her, everything is stagnant. So she stays. So, and she doesn't even seek help. Like my brother from NOIPolls has said, the percentage of women that will come out to even talk about it, to even report, is, it's very minimal. And we are looking at 1 out of 3, like he said, and it's global statistics. But when we say 1 out of 3, it doesn't really ring a bell until we say about 33 million Nigerians. Because when we hear 1 in 3, we are thinking, oh, okay, 1 out of 3. But we are not just putting the figures together to say if we have 100 million women that are Nigerians, a third of those women That's what we are talking about. We are talking about more than the population of how many African countries put together that are being violated. So we need to bring this to the notice of those gatekeepers. They need to know. They need to begin to think differently. We need to deprogram and reprogram them to say, beyond what you read, beyond how you are able to interpret, because they also interpret based on how they have learned about it. We need to focus attention on them. When they begin to say different things on the pulpit and in mosques, women will begin to take different course of action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate her. I'd like to ask Mr. Edo a different question here, because from the Ministry of Women Affairs, they're also saddled with a whole lot of responsibilities, when it even comes to gender-based violence and then even women development. And one of the things I've also noticed, or we have also noticed in gender-based violence issues, is when women also can't take some decisions on their own because of the difference between the disparity rather of economic factor. So a woman who is even a working class woman has a bit of an upper advantage of quickly be able to take a quick decision when it comes to maybe moving out of a violence home than a woman who is strictly a full-time housewife who, like our other speaker said, that my children, what will happen to them? So what can we also do as a ministry or cooperatives to also, because I know a lot of times politicians, what they do more is close to elections, they do the usual paparazzi women empowerment thing, give sewing machine, and once the news, the video, the camera people have gone, sometimes it will shock you, because when we even go to the roots, we still find out that they don't get some of these things. The promises are just for the TV, and paparazzi will have empowered 50,000 women. You get there, you hear that some of these women don't even get those stipends for 3 months. So what as a ministry and even cooperatives can people begin to do differently to empower these women? Because I know when women know for sure that when they move out of a violent situation and that they'll be able to take care of their children, nobody will even advise them on that. I mean, we've seen corporate women who are single mothers and just move out, and they still keep that standard of either education or well care for their children while moving out of the home. So how can we put all this together?
Thank you very much. You've actually asked a very important question. From the ministry angle, you know that the leadership of the Honorable Minister, Her Excellency Pauline K. Talley, OFR KSG, is so passionate about women issues in Nigeria, and it's a person that the vulnerable group in the society is our most priority. The ministry is actually doing a lot in that angle by way of doing a lot of sensitization and advocacy, not just doing sensitization and advocacy, even to community level, so that those that are not informed, because they should be informed of what are the necessary steps that you are expected to have taken when you are being violated in GBV and other related cases. It will shock you to hear that during the last just concluded 2021 16 days of activism, so the ministry took a lot of sensitization and advocacy, even to the level of motor park in FCT, in all the area councils, to ensure that women are being sensitized, perceptions are being changed to know the needful to be done. It's one of the reasons why the ministry established the toll-free line. It's actually giving us a very encouraging feedback from women in the community, especially at the time that we took those sensitization, even to motor park drivers at the FCT area councils. We say motor park, Yanya, Jabi. So most of them that have that perception that women does not really have where they belong to in the society. The leadership of the ministry haven't joined with the permanent secretary. Being in Wuse Motor Park, I can show you pictures while I'm here that was carried out between November 25th to December 10th last year. So having said that, you know, there's a popular saying that when you are not informed, you are deformed. It's just a matter of sensitization and letting people get aware. The ministry have also looked at it from the other perspective that most of all these women, as my brother said when he was speaking, people will say, oh, it's because of poverty. They are unable to, they don't have means of livelihood, they can't take care of their well-being. It's part of the reason why the ministry established safe home. So we have a well-established safe home situated at Kurudu that you will come. You have a set of presidents that are there, experts, social welfare officers that are there. So we looked at, like the scenario she made the meeting to understand that the woman was saying, what will she do to her children? So these are safe home that have adult and children session. And in that process of being there, you'll be able to acquire skills. So you can go into bead making, you can go into hairdressing, you can go into tailoring, you can go into ICT. This is I'm not saying proposals, these are practically in reality. We are operating them in Kurudu as we speak. So with that, having that period to stay to be change that your trauma, because you're already traumatized with all this victimization and GBV. So you'll be equally be given a stipend to go on with these skills that you have learned in that process. So that has actually been helping the ministry to achieve that mandate of bringing gender-based or eradicating gender-based violence completely. So just to stay within your, I have a lot to say, but to stay within your question and the purpose of this meeting, I'd like to stop here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me also say that some of our members are also streaming live with us. So just to carry them along, if they have questions, they can also drop it in the Zoom link. And if whoever is handling that sees any question or comments or contributions, just to carry them along, let them notify us and we can read it out. After all of them speak, we'll then open up and ask if you have comments or questions or observations. Just to also say that we recognize that some of our members are online. Shout out to Mr. Paul. He told us that he's been following us for a while, and others who have also joined in the discussion. I'll quickly come to Ms. Gladys before I bring in Dr. Chike. I'll come to, please help me give her. So I'll come to Ms. Gladys. There's this thing about women who go through gender-based violence. Okay, generally, a lot of people still don't understand that there are pro bono services given by lawyers. So even when they have violation of human rights issues, the first thing you hear Nigerians say is that helpless caption, I no get money, I no get connection. For Nigeria, now we'll get money, go ever. So where do we begin to draw that line to reassure people generally, not just even women? Because there are instances where men also go through violence, but can't even speak out. Already the society has condemned them and say, now woman rababi. You can't even discuss it with a friend at a joint and say, guy, my wife, they beat me. The first thing is, they already condemn you there. So how do we begin to let people know that lawyers also do pro bonos, for them to just walk in? Because sometimes the issues might just be, the solutions might just be to enter a place and talk to someone and you are just okay. You know, it doesn't need 17 days of fasting or going to the mountaintop to shout Hosanna 50 times. Just that you have been able to speak with somebody and it tells you, do it like this or like this. Just someone they can let out. So how do we begin to also advertise this for people to know? Because when you even tell the victims that there are pro bonos, they still even look at you as an activist that, let's say, don't collect money somewhere and they won't use us shine.
Thank you so much. So first things first, most women's rights or girls' rights centered organizations are adopting a new trend, which is setting up their own legal unit. And these legal units provide pro bono services. I take, for instance, my organization. We have our pro bono lawyer scheme. And what we do is we offer both physical consultation, and virtual consultation. So there's no excuse. You're not in Abuja, madam, get your phone, we load data on it. You join us via Zoom, the lawyer talks with you. When you're done, if we need to go to court, we file unnecessary documents and we could transfer. Coincidentally, we have some lawyers even outside of Abuja who volunteered or are volunteering with us. So maybe someone is in Jos. We have a lawyer in Jos who can help. All we need to do is get the necessary paperwork, and then technology has made life easy. So we do everything via technology. Again, we have Legal Aid Council. They provide free legal services for indigent persons. Also, International Federation for Women Lawyers, which I'm a member of, provides free legal services for indigent women and even children. So all people need is actually awareness creation. They have all of this, but they do not know that these things exist. Sometimes people work into organization, and after lamenting, we have a case like that, and then the widow's like, madam, I no get money. I say, madam, no one is asking you for money. We have lawyers who can take care of this. The only thing is, are you willing to go the mile with us? Because the last thing you want is you start off the process and halfway, someone in court says, you know what, I think I'm done. I don't want to continue again. Now your time is wasted, your money is gone, you are embarrassed, and the person goes back to the abuser. And in fact, sometimes it's very critical when they go back the second time. So what we need is just get the word out. For most NGOs, I think they have it on their website, or some of them have it on their flyers. Oh, hey, we have free legal services. All you need to do is just come in and access them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll come to Dr. Chike. The figures are always alarming. You know, it's really deploring, because when as civil societies or organizations you think you are halfway down the line, realities really bring you to check, you know, because you're like, I thought I've done enough. And then you go to some rural areas and you see all that. In the Civil Society Accountability Forum, a lady shared how bad gender-based violence is, that even within the IDP camps, you know, beam lights are not set on there. Even the IDP camps, a whole lot happens there. And I remember when I was in Maiduguri, part of what the women were telling me was the abuses, what do they call them now? Security agencies, whether MOPOL, whether police, whether civil defense, all of what they do there is in exchange for food or in exchange for a few opportunities, because NGOs also come to give relief materials, but they drop these things and go. It's them that supervise the sharing. So the priority list is according to how you are able to pay back in kind. You know, and some of these women are married. You understand? But they need to do all this because some of them will say, my children, waiting them go eat. And they do all this. And then their husbands are also not there. So how do we begin to put faces to the figures?
I make it bold to say that if we can solve that problem, we've done 10 steps forward in the way. Because like we've said, people hardly speak about these things. And I think it's because they know that the outcome is either going to be you become labeled as someone that has been raped, or you become labeled as the one that they beat, and then nothing happens to the perpetrator. So it's like you're causing the person extra injury on top of the agony that they've already been to. So I'll still fall back to how do we convince these people that if they speak out, that the perpetrator is going to be punished quickly? As in, I know one of the topics that we're going to speak on is the, the Timmy Dakolo case. Yeah. It's been years and nobody knows where the end point of that is.
And fresh cases have also emerged.
Yeah. So it's like people move on. So if, for example, the victim that spoke out at that point in time doesn't have a very strong emotional backing, that is 3 years down the line of revisiting the same case without any end in sight. And the perpetrator is going about living their life like nothing happened. the person is going through the social stigma of being labeled, is going through the social stigma of like watching the person live like nothing happened. So until we are able to combat this kind of issues, people will find it very difficult to still come out and say something. Let me also point out that one of the things that we can do is really, I don't know how, maybe some form of training, but to teach people in law enforcement how to handle victims, how to speak to victims, how to get them to open up. I'll speak of a very personal instance. I had someone that lived with me that had an incident where a neighbor forced himself into the room. Nothing happened because she shouted and all that. But she spoke to me when she complained. Her response was, but nothing happened. But I felt it shouldn't end there. I mean, it shouldn't be until something happens. And what shocked me, so we went to the police station and the boy was picked up. But what shocked me the most was that, because they handed the case over to a female police officer, so I felt this would be more understanding. But the first question that they asked the girl, who was 19 at that point in time, was, why a small girl like you, they rub lipstick? That was the very first question. And then they followed up with, I am sure you have done this kind of thing before. Right in front of where the perpetrator was. And to me, it kind of defeated the whole aim, because the girl is going to go back and feel that somehow she brought this onto herself. And, I mean, they now asked the girl, so what do you want us to do now? And so those were 3 steps that I feel should never happen to a victim. One, you've made her feel bad, and then you're making her responsible for whatever is going to happen to the perpetrator. The law is clear. If someone commits an offense, they should be prosecuted. You don't leave that decision back to a 19-year-old girl that is grappling with what you've just told her that she brought about this thing on herself. So I think when we, first of all, encourage people that if they do come out and speak out, that the focus is going to be on the perpetrator and not the victim, then they'll be able to start coming out. I know that we've created helplines and ways to report anonymously, but we should go beyond and try and let people know that it's not your fault. I mean, there's really nothing wrong, and that doesn't define who you are or how you move going forward. That way people might be able to speak up, and we can. The other thing that, the final thing that I want to say is, during the case starting point, the Timi Dakolo case, when you see where this is discussed in several forums, you'll be disappointed, because a lot of people kept on saying they were dating, despite the fact that the girl was saying she was less than 18. And until people started pouring out statistics and asking you, people that are talking, go back to your house, you have sisters, you have mothers, you have female people, speak to them candidly and see if they will open up. It will shock you to know the number of people that are living with these kind of issues. That will help people understand that we have the gravity of problem that we have on ground. And we should enable people to understand that, and I'm just going to say it again, it's not your fault. There's nothing you could have done that would have made this happen differently. It is the fault of who did whatever they did, and they should pay for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please, let's appreciate him.